All right, so we're back again. Where are we? Thursday, getting towards the end of September. Trust everything's going really well. But what I wanted to share in this video really was a couple of ideas on kind of increasing your revenue in your business without necessarily adding any additional effort. And kind of to give you the thinking behind that more than anything else, to kind of share sort of my thinking, what I've been looking at, what I've been playing with. So, like for example, I've done a lot recently with online video tools. So looking at some of the options available out there in terms of AI, both from a perspective of AI being able to provide a voiceover, which I think is kind of interesting, and also from the point of view, there are some tools out there where you can provide a script and then it goes through, the AI kind of goes through and interprets what each sentence is trying to say and kind of comes up with an appropriate image or an appropriate little snippet of video to go with it. Obviously, you can then go in and adjust it all and play with it. So I've been playing with that. It's been really interesting. I have been focusing in or doubling down more on a sort of I guess a business model that I've always used, but in a slightly different way, simply because these tools are available. But I wanted to sort of share with you some of my thinking behind it so that you could develop your own, if you like, blueprint for a marketing strategy. So as I said in the text, I was like, I want to share some rules with you. I thought it was interesting actually because I made the distinction between blueprint and rules, as in blueprint is kind of hardwired in the sense of once you create the blueprint, it's like, this is exactly how it is. So it doesn't really allow any flexibility. And of course, your situation and my situation are never going to be exactly the same. So more important than a blueprint is to have a set of rules that guide it. And I got this it's a great analogy. I was listening to an evolutionary biologist who was talking about how genetics are very much based on rules, not blueprints. So in the sense of, like take dogs, he used an example of a dog. You can take different breeds of dogs and you can crossbreed them. So obviously, if it was a blueprint and you've got something like a German Shepherd and you're trying to breed it with a I don't know, a Boujon poodle type thing, then of course, if the female is the poodle, is a much smaller dog. So of course its womb couldn't physically manage the size of a German Shepherd puppy. So therefore it's not a blueprint because it couldn't physically do that, but it's a set of rules that says do this, 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 and this. Really interesting. And I also found it interesting. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want to plant in your head this idea of rules. Think in terms of rules, or what I like to call organizing principles, because they're the same idea. It's the same concept, really. That this guy and his I think it's his wife, actually. They're both evolutionary biologists, but she was talking about how she used to teach a class, university class, where they would dissect, say, like a cat and say something like a larger animal. And they do this over, say, a period of, I think it was a 10-week time frame. So it was done over a 10-week frame. So the class lasted 10 weeks. And so I think she was talking about they had a cat and they had a shark. Now, obviously, certain things you'd expect, like if you dissect a shark, obviously the skull size and such like, there are always going to be differences there, assuming sharks have skulls. But then what was more interesting, she said, was when they got to a point or sort of like halfway into the course where, like, let's say there's 15 students, they've all got 15 cats, and they've all basically been dissecting these cats, is then to go around and look at the cats. Like, in other words, is the interior of a cat exactly the same? Is the heart the same size? Is the bone the same size, like a femur? The sort of thigh bone. Is it the same size? It's like, no, it's not the same size, but it serves the same function. And also more telling is the sense of, like the heart. Is the valve, the aorta on the heart, is it the same size? No. Are all the arteries exactly the same? No. Do they even follow the same path in the body? No. So it's more of a kind of, the blueprint isn't a blueprint. It's a set of rules that says you've got to get from the heart to this point in the body. How you get there is entirely down to you. But the rule says you've got to connect these two things. Does that make sense? So that's kind of a way of thinking, which then gives you massive flexibility. Now, I found this tool, which is an online whiteboard. I'm going to see if I can share it. So, and then I'm going to attempt to draw on it, which obviously is not easy when you're used to drawing with a pen. Drawing with a mouse, a little bit different. Share screen. Chrome tab, that's the one. It is called Oh, there is. That's the one. Share that. Now then, how do I make sure yeah, you're seeing the whiteboard. Fantastic. Right, so I'm just going to draw on here. I won't be able to see myself. I'll make sure that, yeah, but anyway, it's there. All right, look, so any strategy. First of all, let's break this down. Let's have some basic things. Let's get a couple of shapes going. Shapes, that'd be simple. Yep. So if we move that over here, if we say, okay, here's where you want to get to. Oh, how do we add text? Let's add some text. Oh, we got to add text here. So if we say, all right, look, basic stuff. First of all, what's your goal? But let's keep it simple. Let's make that a revenue goal. So you got a revenue goal you want to hit. Obviously, you're going to put on there a timeline. So here we are in September. We got what? Almost the end of September. So we got a week probably. Yeah, exactly a week for the end of September. So we got September, we got October, November, December. So assuming that you're probably going to Christmas will take up some of your free time, then we've effectively got 3 months. So we got October, November, December. You got 3 months. You got 90 days. Call it 90 days. So what is your 90-day revenue goal from now? So you can end the year on a high and obviously celebrate that over Christmas. Let's go back again. Let's get another one. So the second thing, of course, is you're going to define what that goal is. And this is what I mean by your situation won't be exactly the same as mine. Because where are you now? So this is your starting point. Let's get some more. And now, let's call it now. There. Let me just flip over and see how that looks on here. I'm assuming you can read that. So that's now. And then, of course, we have oh, I can choose a color. Ah, kind of cool. Let's go with black. It's just, as straight as I can make it with my squiggly mouse. So basically, we want to close the gap. So basic stuff, you heard me talk about this before. We want to close the gap between where you are now and where you'd like to get to. So then we're thinking in terms of strategy. Now, first point. So let's kind of draw on here. First thing to pay attention to. And I'm kind of bringing together some of the stuff I've been sharing over the past few weeks. But again, this is important to your thinking. It's like, how do you outthink your problems? How do you achieve your goals? So the first thing is your business model. Let me bring up some text. Yeah, let's put this here, business model. Let's talk about business models for a second, because this is vitally important. Your business model determines how hard you've got to work. Pretty much. Simple as that. So I would say in the sort of coaching space, in the consultancy space, online, pretty much everybody and their dog is trying to establish themselves as an expert. In other words, position themselves as an expert. So their whole business model is driven by expert positioning. And to the point where I don't think anybody realizes there's other ways of doing it. So expert positioning, obviously, it's important. And I understand where it's coming from. I've used it myself, in the sense that obviously if you're going to take on clients, they want to know that you can deliver a certain result for them, if that's the result you're promising. So therefore, they need to know there's a level of credibility there. That therefore comes from your expert positioning. Can you deliver the result that you promise? From a psychology point of view, we're all familiar with the Milgram experiments from years ago, where, take somebody in authority, tell somebody to do something, however immoral it may be, and they're more likely to follow along if they believe that you're the person in authority telling them what to do, and that therefore they trust you. So I get all of that. So that, though, then immediately puts you in a position where, okay, you need to define your business model. So you need to decide how you're going to generate revenue and how much effort that's going to require. So if you're the expert, then that implies that, let me get some more text. That implies that you are selling your own service primarily, which means you got to create that. So that's one lot of effort. Can I do let's see, is there a command? No, there isn't. Let's just do it again. Add another one. Of course, you need some way to sell it. I'm going to call that conversion. Conversion approach. Call it an approach for now. So you obviously got to create that. So conversion approaches, sales letters, webinars, video sales letters, series of videos, anything along those lines. If you run a challenge, and obviously in some point in there's a pitch. So basically, you got let's change that. That would be a better word, wouldn't it? Pitch it. You got to pitch it in some way. Maybe you get on a call with somebody, so your whole focus is getting people onto a call, and then it's a one-on-one conversation, which again moves them to a point where they make a decision to buy from you. So all of that. So from an effort point of view, in the beginning, then, and this is the important part, in the beginning, there is a lot to do. You've got to decide what you're selling. You've got to package it in some way. You've then got to find a way to pitch it. And then, of course, you've got to find a way to bring in leads. So bring in leads, I would call that audience growth. In other words, you've got to grow an audience. Because if you're going to be an expert, then it makes sense that you grow an audience based around your expertise that gets to know you, like you, trust you. Then obviously it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier once you have an audience to then be able to run a challenge or do anything else. Now, of course, you can. What I like about things like challenges, so from a strategic point of view, something like a challenge can be used to both grow your audience and obviously make revenue, make sales. So you can do both at the same time. If you're doing it all organically, trickier, because obviously it's much slower. Organic reach is dropping pretty much on a daily basis. So, and also there's the challenge with, I was listening to somebody yesterday talking about Molly Mahoney was talking about this yesterday, that, live video, she was kind of using the idea that live video in its original format is kind of, I guess, dying, not in the sense of using live video, but in the sense of the reach that it gets you organically, and that's changed. So therefore, you need a better approach, a better strategy, if you're going to do live video, to then repurpose it and get on as many different platforms as possible to engage different types of customers on different types of platforms. So that kind of puts you in a position where, like, how many places can you be in at the same time, and how easy is that to do for yourself? In my previous live, I talked a lot about workflows, which are the habits you follow on a daily basis, because obviously your daily results are dictated by your daily habits. So having something in place, which as a workflow, which allows you to take anything you do and record and obviously repurpose it, put it on different platforms and use that as a means to obviously grow your audience, fantastic. But that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of work. Not saying you shouldn't do it. I think you should do it if you want to be positioned as an expert. But what I am saying is, especially if you're starting out, that's a lot to do all at once. And that's a very slow burn process, when really the name of the game is to generate revenue. Because if you can't generate revenue fast enough, you don't have a business. And you're just going to either continue to do what I see most people doing, which is they struggle along. They manage to survive in life in terms of paying their rent, their food, and everything else, either because they have someone else providing the money for them, they have a partner who works full-time in some way, or they've got access to a big bucket of savings that they're slowly but surely burning through. And I've seen both of those scenarios. So your business model determines all of this. Your business model, if you're deciding you want to be a coach, consultant, and an expert in that way, then of course, everything I've just said becomes relevant to you. But that isn't the only way. So what if you flip that and said, okay, look, step 2 might be to become the expert and position yourself as the expert. But step 1 isn't necessarily to do so. Step 1 is to go, can I actually sell something that is similar to what I want to sell? And I'll give you another example as well here. I've got a product, which at the moment I call Crush It. I'm thinking of changing the name, but I call Crush It. And it really is a way of thinking and some of the key things you put in place, from a vision point of view to defining your future self, to the habits and the workflows that you put in place each day to kind of not just grow your business. From my perspective, it's like neglect nothing, apply it to all aspects of your life. So I've got this as a product. Typically, I've been selling it through a webinar. Nothing wrong with that. But at the moment, I'm playing with some new ideas. So one of the things I'm playing with is the advertising side. So as I mentioned before, I'm kind of looking at different video tools. So I've been using FlexClip. I've been using InVideo. I've been using another tool called, I think it's called Bravalia, which is a AI voice thing. So I've been using these tools because I want to play with them. And the point of it is to get adverts running on YouTube as quickly as possible. So then it's kind of, okay, I want to generate revenue as quickly as possible. So while I'm playing with these tools and writing ads, I don't want to burn through ad spend waiting for, or to kind of find out, well, how many people respond to the ad? How many people opt in to watch the webinar? How many people show up to the webinar? How much of an email follow-up do I then need, and what sort of angles do I need, and how many different angles do I need, or in order to write a sequence of emails to follow up with all these people? That's a huge amount of work. And there's a delay between when Google want their money for me to pay for the adverts and when I can expect revenue to come in. And there could be, I mean, you could argue, okay, look, there could be revenue coming in straight away. Absolutely, there will be some sales straight away, but it's still a slower process. And in terms of when I run the webinars and everything else, it's still a slower process. But what if instead I focus on writing the ads and I focus on using that to help build my email list? So literally, you know, from ad to, like, let's draw it. Let's do some little pictures. It would be ad. And we got an arrow on here. And we got a line. Oh, let me grab that. Can I grab it? Oh, tricky. Doesn't want to be grabbed. No. Oh my goodness. Ah, there we go. Right. Add to. Let's have another one of those. Let's have a different shape. Ooh. Yeah, that's what that does. Right. Let's say add to landing page, and the landing page is just a simple opt into my email list. So I'm giving them a reason to opt into the email list. So creating a lead magnet could be very simple. Could be, you know, take less than an hour, without a doubt, less than an hour's work to create something for which people would willingly opt in. So you go, great, but then obviously the ad's being paid for. They're opted into an email list. There's no revenue being generated yet. I would have to write an email sequence to follow up with them, and then obviously a product. So whether that's a webinar, whatever it might be, whether it's the Crush It program, doesn't matter. But if I'm going, okay, my intention is to ultimately sell the Crush It program in a different way, but what I'm focused on is testing these ads. I want to use these tools and make this work. So what would be a better way to generate revenue? Well, what would be better is to go, okay, what's a product that's already out there which is not directly competitive with what I want to sell, but is certainly relevant and valuable to the people that I'm targeting with my ads, which I could generate a commission from. So then as soon as they opt in, I then send them off. I'll get another line. Let's drag this thing. Yeah, there we go. I get them. Can I that changes that? Oh, that angles it. Okay. So, oh, there we go. There we go. So what I'm doing is I'm saying I'm sending them off to another product. So someone else's product where, and again, what I'm doing is let's draw a circle, grab that. Let's put this is someone else's product. So in other words, someone else's landing page, someone else's sales letter, someone who has spent money and time testing their offer, testing their sales page, testing all of that. So we know it works. We know it converts at a certain rate. We know exactly the kind of people it converts for. And so I'm just using that as an opportunity to generate revenue back, which I should use this, shouldn't I? Let's go with blue. Okay. Which pays for my ads. So in other words, generates a profit as well, actually. So that's another way of looking at it. So which is simpler from your perspective? Because whatever you do, like I'm saying, your business model matters. Your business model is probably the most important decision you'll ever make. Not saying you'll get it perfect straight away, but you might want to evolve it and pay attention to it. But certainly starting out, you want to build an audience. Then focus on the people that you would like in that audience. So you know who your ideal client or ideal-ish client is. Think about how you're going to grow that audience. Think about the fastest way to do that and what you would have to pay attention to and how much work you would have to do. And is there a way to say, look, can I grow that audience by promoting someone else's products, getting paid a commission for it? So you're acting as an affiliate. So that commission pays for your growth, pays you a profit. So you're generating revenue immediately. or certainly faster than you would trying to do everything yourself. And in doing that, you don't have to position yourself as an expert. You can position yourself as someone who kind of acts as a curator. In other words, you bring things together. So it could be that you are, like, let's say, for example, you could still go live. So you can still do, it can still be a personality-based business. It could still be your personality. It could still be you just being absolutely honest with people and saying, look, here's what I do well. What I do well is connect the right services and products with the right people. You still understand your audience. You still understand the problems they want to solve. You still understand the desires they want to achieve, the goals they want to achieve. But what you're saying is saying, look, these are the goals you want to achieve. These are the things that are going to help you achieve them. I don't necessarily have all those myself, but I don't want to reinvent the wheel. But this person has this, and this works. So I would suggest you look at that. Go look at her product. Go look at his product. Go look at their service. And therefore, you're making money straight away. Now, that then means, what do you have to focus on? You end up focusing on the bit that really makes a difference when you're starting out in business, which is obviously the marketing and the selling, or the audience growing, the audience growth. Let's get some more text going. Oh, there we go. Oh, I've got a couple there now. Let's move that over there. We'll keep that for, we can use that one later. So you're basically working on the marketing, audience growth, which is going to serve you as an asset ongoingly. But in the beginning, you just want to get paid for it. And this is what I mean by by the way to think about this. You want to think of it in terms of speed. You want to think of it in terms of, how do you generate revenue as quickly as possible? What are the key components and what's going to serve you? And those are the kind of questions that I suggest you should be asking yourself. So if we know that growing an audience, having a following is going to serve you long term, but in the immediate now, growing an audience, developing a product, packaging the product, writing an effective pitch for that product, delivering that pitch, being able to do that fast enough. Because, like, if you're trying to do it organically, I don't know anyone who's doing it organically that's doing it rapidly anymore, because that doesn't really happen. So you're really into the sort of realms of either doing some sort of joint venture, so finding someone who's already got an audience, in which case you take your product to them, because that's the other way of thinking about it. What I'm looking at is, can I minimize the amount of work and effort required? And there's two big chunks. One is audience. Second is conversion, pitch it. The pitch it part requires you got a product. So you could say, okay, well, who's already got an audience? Because that would be another way of thinking about it. So could you go to someone with an audience? So now you got to develop a relationship with them. Now you got to give them a reason to want to promote what you're offering. So again, we come back to, I've said in the past, one of the ways to do that is through podcasts. Obviously, podcasts are a win-win typically for both the podcast owner and the person being interviewed. And I give you an example. There was a podcast I did, must be 3-4 years ago now. And the woman who interviewed me, Jamie, can't remember her name, Jamie, she recently re-promoted that podcast episode. And that then brought me a whole flood of new people again. So in other words, her audience who'd been following her podcast over the years probably hadn't seen some of the older episodes. So she deliberately recognized that and started promoting some of those older episodes to her new audience, to the new members that would have been on there since prior to when I recorded a podcast with her. And of course, some of those people were like, oh, this is interesting. I like this person. And then came and found me, so that in itself can be a great way to grow your audience. And actually, as I'm thinking about it, of course, that's a way that doesn't involve a huge amount of money, but it does involve effort. So again, you got to be reaching out to people. And I know when I did that recording with her, when I did that episode with her, she had a calendar. So she was kind of booked out probably 4 months in advance. So even that, it's still a slow process, because it's like, okay, we're booking it in now. The interview wasn't going to be for like 3-4 months. Then, of course, the episode might not necessarily come out straight away. She might be scheduling when she releases those episodes. Those episodes could be another 3 months ahead of the game. So it could be 6 months before that episode actually gets out into the world and before you see any results from it. So, you got to bear all this in mind. So you've got to look at growth, audience growth. So building your audience for yourself, and then obviously generating revenue from that audience as quickly as possible. So ways to do that. If you can approach someone who's got an audience, and is willing to promote you today, then you're back to, you got to focus on having some sort of product or service available, and you've got to have a way to pitch it, because they're not going to pitch it for you. All they're going to do is give you an opportunity to reach their audience. You've still got to do all the other pieces that go with it. So that still means you need a viable way of turning those strangers into customers. So we're back to, can you pitch? Which really kind of highlights just how important the skill of being able to sell is, and being able to sell effectively. So whether that is through a video sales letter, through a webinar, some sort of presentation, or whether it's like just one-on-one, it's still, that is a skill that is absolutely necessary for your success. There is no way around it. And I think the challenge with the internet is so many people online really don't like selling, don't like marketing, and would prefer not to have to even be in front of a real person to do any kind of selling. They'd love that, whatever magic happens online can do it all for them. And again, that's a challenge. Whereas once, of course, you have a level of trust and connection with an audience, then getting them to buy from you is so much easier, to the point where the level of skill for selling diminishes. In other words, like, you need very little. If there's a huge amount of trust there, you could literally say, hey guys, I brought this out. This is what it costs. This is what it's going to do from you. Go here to buy it. It could be as simple as that. And if their level of trust in you is so incredibly high, then there will be people that immediately do it. And of course, that's great. That's fantastic. That's a wonderful model. But getting to that point is a process. And that's what I'm driving at. So you got to recognize, okay, business model, what is it you're focused on? What is your current skill set? What is the skill set that you need? There's a post yesterday that a friend of mine put out saying, in your business right now, which you need more of, or which skill do you need to develop? Being better at the coaching side of it, or being better at the marketing of that. And of course, 99% of the people responded saying the marketing of it, because people get so, particularly with coaches especially, get so focused on, I'm a great coach, I can solve this problem, I can do this, I can do that. That's wonderful. But if the world doesn't know you exist, it's irrelevant. And so when you're starting out in business, although you are, and this is the challenge of being human, you're emotionally attached to what you do. So if you're a coach, you're emotionally attached to, I'm a coach, I want to be coaching. I don't want to have to deal with the yucky stuff of marketing and selling. But actually, that's where your money is going to come from. That's where your bread and butter is going to come from. So you got to do something along those lines. So my suggestion is focus on building an audience, and focus for getting paid to build that audience. Make your life easier strategically by recognizing there are two primary things. You're either building the audience, so you're generating leads and turn them into an audience, or you are making an offer to that audience. In other words, you need to design something, put together a product or a service, put together the pitch for it, put together all the follow-up for it, and then actually promote it. But if you break that into those two big chunks and go, okay, I'm just going to focus in the beginning, step one, on growing my audience. When I've grown my audience to a certain level, that could just be, it could be 100 followers, literally. It could be 100 followers, and, depending on what you offer, that could be enough. It could be 1,000 followers, whatever it might be. But whatever it is, you could say, step one, I'm not going to sell my coaching. I'm just going to focus on building that audience. What that will cause you to do is start thinking about the skills that are missing from a business point of view. So then we're into, okay, can you write an ad? Can you use that ad to grow your audience? Can you get paid to do that? So you may not have been aware before of the whole idea of being an affiliate, but I'm putting it there so that you can take it into consideration. Like, one of the things for developing your own strategy is to collect enough knowledge. So if you're missing certain key pieces of knowledge, or you're unaware that certain things exist, then obviously you can't use them, you can't leverage them, you can't bring them into your thinking to make decisions as to what's the most effective approach for you. So rules. Your rules are, you have to build an audience. Your rules are, you have to have something to sell. The rules are, to make that easier to sell, you want it to be focused on a specific result. Now, step outside the world of coaching, and let's apply this thinking to just making money. So you could say, I just want to make money. I want to be the definition of a lifestyle entrepreneur. Then online, all you have to do is learn how to write good ads. So we go, okay, let's break this down. Let's say, I'll borrow this one. Let's change that. Let's put right. I'm going to put decent. Write decent ads. And you just want to get good at that. So what does that mean? Well, a decent ad is, let's just bring some more text here. Can we change the color of the text? What's that? Oh, yeah, there we go. We can make it blue. Okay. I don't know if it changes this text or if that's future. Oh, it's future. How strange. Anyway, I'll get my head around it. Okay, look, so write a decent ad. What does that mean? So an ad is typically about, rough guide, around 90 seconds to about, let's say, 4 minutes in length. Platforms to run ads on, obviously, bunch of them, but the big ones, YouTube, Facebook. Now, here's where it helps. As part of your strategic thinking, one of the rules is stay in touch with what's happening in the marketplace. Stay in touch with what's happening in your industry. So that's a rule. So in other words, like when Facebook first released, say, live stream videos, anybody doing a live stream video immediately got a massive boost because it was in Facebook's interest to give you that boost, to encourage you, to reward you to do more live streams. And certainly when Facebook first launched and people could write posts, then again, it was in their interests to give your post as much exposure as possible, because that's how they knew they were going to keep people on the platform and get people talking about it and bringing more people to the platform and growing their audience. So it was in their interest to do that. Wasn't in their interest long term, because of course they can't keep doing that and make any money, but it was in their interest short term because it's how they grew their audience. Now they had, certainly my understanding is they had deep enough pockets to be able to do that without requiring any external revenue coming in, because they had backing. You don't necessarily have backing, nor do you want it. So you need to be able to grow your audience. Same strategy as Facebook had, same strategy that Google had, same strategy they've all had. It's like they want to grow their audience. And at some point, but of course with you need to generate the revenue quickly. They could take longer to generate the revenue. So rule, pay attention to what's going on in the marketplace. At the moment in the advertising world, Facebook are running out of space. So yes, they've got Instagram. Yes, they've got some form of audience network that they can put your ads on. But of course, as soon as you start doing that, your conversions are a little bit more unpredictable, without a doubt. Facebook have got very strict around certain things that you can and can't promote. Getting an account shut down in Facebook is very common. Getting your account frozen is very common. I've had my account frozen before for no violation at all. And then it's just, you got to send them a message and say, oh, you've frozen my account. I don't see any violation. What's going on? And then they got to then obviously undo it. And they do, they come back to you, they send you an email and they say, look, we're really sorry, blah, blah, blah. Because of course they've got so many advertisers, they've got so much going on. They can't rely on human beings doing it, because that would take a staff of, probably a couple of billion to stay on top of all the content that goes through Facebook. So they use AI. And obviously the AI isn't perfect, so it makes mistakes. And that's, so accounts get shut down. Therefore, a lot of people at the moment are moving back to YouTube. Now, what's the downside of YouTube? What's the barrier to entry to YouTube is the fact that it's video based. So you got to create a video. So then it's like, okay, well, how do you create a video? And there's a process to that. And of course, that can be a slow process, but that's got quicker because of video tools. More importantly, depending on the nature of what you're promoting to build your audience with, you don't even need your own voice anymore. You can use AI voice. In fact, there are some AI tools that will take your voice and replicate it. So effectively, it sounds like you or enough like you, to be an approximation of you. And they're pretty good, and some of the AI voices, yes, are a bit more robotic, but they still work. They still obviously get the message across, and that's the only important part. So now we've got this situation where it's like, okay, can you write a decent ad? Can you create a workflow to create an ad? And of course, strategically, your goal is to grow your audience. So what niche are you in? So choose your niche. And what products that already exist can you promote? So we're back to, all you then got to do is focus on writing ads. So you write the ads, you put them up on, say, YouTube, and you run them. YouTube's AI is also very good. In other words, once you start getting conversions and sales, that information feeds back into YouTube's AI, and it goes, okay, again, like Facebook does, but of course the whole Apple thing has had a bit of an impact on it, where it basically said, okay, these are the types of people that are buying. Let me get you more of those types of people. So it goes off and does that. But the point is, you're only focused on this one thing. So if your goal is to just generate revenue, then you could actually use this and not even worry about building an audience, because you're not interested in building an audience. You're just interested in making revenue. Then you focus on just writing decent ads. So your skill set, so let me add another line. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. Choose my color. We need some more text. Let's choose the color in advance. Let's see if this makes a difference. Hopefully. Yep. Oh, where's it gone? Oh, no. I've obviously not got this right. Anyway, it's still bloody red. Okay. Skill set to develop. Let's change that. Let's make that critical skill set to develop. Okay. So if you go, okay, if I just want to generate revenue, then, and this is what I've done recently, I came up with a criteria of how to select products that I wanted to promote that I don't own. So I come up with a criteria, and then it's like, okay, then research the product, research the elements that would allow me to create a good ad. I have a structure for ads, and then the whole point is I have a workflow to go from ad to YouTube to sales as quickly as possible. And then from sales to how quickly can I scale those sales. So that's just pure revenue. But again, it's speed, because all I need to do is this side of it, write the ad. So that's, again, something to think about. If you're in business, oh no, look, there we go. That's blue. We did get it right. If you are going to grow your business, think about the rules that you need to follow to develop the strategy that's going to give you the result you want. What I will do is, if you're interested in what I'll do in a future live, is I'll break down the structure of how I write ads, and then you can see that for yourself as well. I will also, if you're interested and you want to know more about this, I'll go into my criteria for selecting products that I'm happy to promote. So I'll talk about that as well. But the big thing I want to get across to you is, you're either focusing on growing your audience, or you're focusing on selling your service. In the beginning, it's like, pick one of those. So then you've got a skill set. If you're going to just focus on selling your service, then you're going to need to find other people who've got an existing audience that you can tap into. There's a process, and it's potentially a slow process. That can be reaching out to people. That can be networking with people. That can be getting on people's podcasts. That's always a good way. That could be starting your own podcast and interviewing other people that you want to network with, joint venture with, help have them become someone who helps promote you. That's one way of doing that. But again, that's a slower process. It's not generating revenue for you day one. Which always brings me back to, how are you generating revenue from day one? So then question it. Is there a skill set you need to develop which you have maybe been avoiding? Like I know people who have spent a number of years building an audience of following organically. My perception at this moment in time, and again, I'm willing to be made wrong on this, I'm willing to be challenged on this because things can change on a dime, is that it's getting harder and harder to build that organically. There's a level of effort required, in the sense of if you're doing it organically, it may be that you are required on a daily basis to, like on Facebook, I get requests from people every day wanting to be my friend. And as soon as I accept a friend request, then I'll get something either inviting me to join their group or immediately telling me what they can do for me and to get on a call with them. And from my point of view, it's like the group thing is a little bit less invasive, but 99% of the time I just ignore it because I kind of go, it's not really a group that's, I believe, is relevant to me and my goals. Whereas I might come across other groups that Facebook presents to me and go, actually, that looks interesting. That's relevant to what I'm doing. That's relevant to my interests. And I will join it to take a look at it. So you could be doing that. You could be just kind of saying, okay, each day I'm going to send out X number of requests for people to join my group. I don't know what sort of conversion rate you're going to get on that. Could be slow. Or you could say, well, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend X amount of time each day in other people's groups, getting known in that group. So again, we're back to expert positioning. Can you get known in that group? So you're answering people's questions, you're giving your insights, you're giving your advice, and then somehow moving those people into a conversation with you, moving those people into your own group. So using that as a way to build your audience. Again, it's a slow process. Now, it could be that you say, okay, look, well, I'm going to set a goal and I can afford to take 3 months to put together a couple of people to offer my package, which is, a $10,000 package. And therefore, if I close 3 people in at the end of 3 months, then I'll have made $30,000 and I'm solid. I'm golden. Great. So then that is your strategy based on the goal you want to achieve and based on where you are now and what you can do. If your goal, though, is to say, no, I want to speed things up, I want to grow my audience, I want to get paid to do that, then I'm just going to focus on developing the critical skills to allow me to do that, which means, can I write a decent ad? Can I give people a reason to join my email list? And can I find a product that is relevant to those people, that would add value to those people, would make me look good for introducing that product to those people, that pays me, so therefore I'm getting paid to grow my audience. So things to think about, rules to pay attention to. So the rules are, what's the goal? Rules are, what resources have you got available to you? Rules are, how soon do you need money? Rules are, how do you take away the hardest part of being in business, which is the selling? How do you focus on the thing that allows you to grow an audience, generate revenue? Because the rule is, how quickly can you generate revenue? Then the rule might be, well, I got to generate revenue within 30 days. Because 30 days, the next rent payment's due. I got to make money. So then it's like, okay, how quickly can you write an ad? How quickly can you choose a product? How quickly can you start promoting it? And you can do all that very quickly at the moment because of the tools that are out there, the video tools, the voice recording tools, all these kind of things. Very simple, very straightforward. Having a tool that creates, in video, for example, you just write the script. You write the script, it turns it into a video. It provides a voiceover. You can get voiceovers from other tools as well, which you can then upload, and then you just output it. But again, you spend a little bit of money to get access to that tool, but you've got something that's done. You could literally have an ad done in less than a day. Like you could go from product research, enough material to write a decent ad, and have an ad ready in less than a day and have it up and running on YouTube before the end of the day. That is possible. So what I'll do is I will take this. Hopefully this has been of use to you. I don't want to go on any further. Hopefully it's been of use to you in terms of the thinking process. What I will do is I'll probably go back through this and pull out some of my thoughts from the recording and then turn that into a cheat sheet, which I can then share with you in terms of rules and ways to think. But the key driver is very much, how quickly can I generate revenue? Can I generate revenue within less than 2 weeks? That might be your guide. Can I generate revenue within less than a month? So again, depending on your current circumstances, can I generate revenue within 90 days? In which case, if you've got 90 days, you could say, actually, then I need to create an audience in 90 days. I need to do it organically because I want to do it with no money. And therefore, my strategy then is going to be manual. It's going to be effort-based. But my key is, Can I work less, generate more revenue, achieve more? Yes, I can, by leveraging a skill set, developing a skill set, because the more ads you write, the better you get at it, and then promoting other people's products so that I cut out all the big work, which is creating a product, testing the product, writing a sales letter for a product, developing a compelling argument for the product. Let's just find something that already works. Okay? So things to think about, rules to implement, decisions to make. All right, leave me any questions below if you would like a specific answer to like a custom question with a custom answer. Remember to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube channel. Remember, regardless of where you're watching this, to like it and share it. Share the love a little bit with the people that would thank you for it so that you look good for sharing it with them. That's called social currency. And I will see you in the next live. Thanks a lot. Oh, hold on.